Welcome to another Advanced Manufacturing Media webinar. Our presentation today is Expand Your 3D Tactile and Video Measuring Capabilities with CMM Manager. Hello, I'm Bill Koenig, a Senior Editor at Manufacturing Engineering. Before the presentation starts, I'd like to provide some background on what we will be doing today. Our sponsor today is Nikon Metrology. Nikon offers the broadest range of metrology solutions for applications ranging from miniature electronics to the largest aircraft. Nikon Metrology's innovative measuring and precision instruments contribute to a high-performance design through manufacturing process that allows manufacturers to deliver premium quality products in a shorter time. Our presenter is Nikon Metrology's Senior Application Engineer and Product Manager, Nate Frost. Nate is the primary liaison between customers and engineering. He works with the Nikon application software team to develop new software and hardware functionality for CMM Manager. With a mechanical engineering degree from Eastern Michigan and 20 years in 3D metrology, Nate has the experience to overcome the most complex customer applications. During the presentation, you will be able to ask questions using the Q&A box that appears at the right of your screen. Time permitting, your questions will be answered following the presentation. If time runs out before we get to all the questions, we will make sure the answers are emailed to you. Another housekeeping point. When viewing webinars over the Internet, it's possible for the quality of the presentation to be affected by the type of Internet connection you have, the amount of total bandwidth available to you, and the number of people accessing the bandwidth at the time. If you experience difficulty, please let us know by way of the Q&A box. If you have any questions about any other aspects of our webinars, please email me at bkoenig@sme.org. I'll rejoin you after the presentation with a few concluding remarks. Now, here's Nate Frost of Nikon Metrology. Nate?
Hello, my name is Nate Frost, working with Nikon Metrology in the Columbus, Ohio development team. So today we'll be talking about CMM Manager and how it's used in the Nikon iNexiv VMA hardware. So this is a multi-probe vision tactile laser 3D metrology system. Well, first we'll start with an introduction to CMM Manager and some general information about CMM Manager software. So we've had a mission statement for some time to provide a high-value software solution for new equipment and existing equipment upgrades for manual, DCC, portable, and vision metrology systems. So what does that mean? We can give a brief history of CMM Manager, starting and releasing back in 2003. We were addressing the portion of this mission statement, the existing equipment upgrade market. So we were looking for CMMs, traditional DCC and manual CMMs, including portable arms, to upgrade those types of hardware with replacement software that maybe has CAD capabilities or some sort of advanced graphics and reporting capabilities that the previous software may not have had. As time has gone on, with an acquisition by Nikon, of course, we're offering CMM Manager on new hardware from Nikon Metrology, so traditional CMMs, portable arms, also some large volume equipment. And now finally, 2015, we're offering CMM Manager on the Nikon iNexiv VMA line. So the agenda today, we'll talk about several topics. First, briefly, we'll talk about, in general, CMM Manager. So this could apply to the iNexiv. This could apply to any upgrade or any situation where CMM Manager is offered. Why would we choose CMM Manager? So first off, flexibility. CMM Manager is a flexible software that can plug and play not only on other brands of CMMs, so Hexagon, Mitutoyo, Zeiss, etc., and then of course the Nikon 3D equipment that we talked about, but now also the Nikon iNexiv, multi-probe, touch probe, vision, etc., combination system. So with all of these plug-and-play systems, we can actually share programs between these systems. So if you've got a DCC machine running a program and you need to run a program in an emergency situation, maybe you can use your ARM or your portable metrology system or a manual system to quickly inspect that particular part that was intended to run on a DCC system, but of course flexible enough to run on other systems running the same software. So next, ease of use. Everything in CMM Manager is exposed to the operator in a manner that they can easily import a CAD model, perform an alignment, measure features, create constructed features, interact with the CAD model, and then finally create a report. So all of these commands, as the customer is accessing these commands, are added to a program. The program can be easily edited by dragging and dropping and double-clicking in a very graphical environment. The next thing that we can talk about, power. So there's many, many powerful aspects of CMM Manager. Probably the most well-known and the thing that we like to talk about, path planning. So when you're programming, in particular an automatic system, and you're using a CAD model, you can simply pick features from the CAD model. If you're working on a traditional CMM with an articulating probe, the probe head can articulate automatically. We can find the best path to get from one feature to another. So of course with the iNexiv system, now that we're adding some additional sensor types, a vision sensor, a laser sensor, that same type of path planning is going to be available. Reporting. So not only are we creating simple text reports that might be printed or saved in a text or CSV type format, but we can create elaborate reports with pictures of the parts, either a photographic image or a CAD image of the part with direct annotations of dimensional information. We can do CAD comparisons. So if you've got either geometric or irregular surfaces and you've taken 10 points or 1,000 points on a surface, you can immediately see the deviations of those measured points compared to the nominal CAD surfaces. High level. So if you want to give an operator a prompt, or you want to control the flow of a program, or you want to interact with the outside world, so maybe a barcode scanner, we've got a VB scripting high-level engine inside of CMM Manager that allows you to do all sorts of unique things. Gear inspection. Optionally, we have a gear inspection module that allows tactile inspection of a gear and reporting on traditional gear characteristics. So this is working on OD and ID gears of several types of varieties, bevel, spiral, so on. And then finally, vision. So traditionally, vision in CMM Manager has been available as a module in conjunction with a retrofit camera that we're putting on either a traditional manual or DCC CMM. Of course, these cameras only have ring lighting, and you're limited to some extent, but it's been a good solution for some customers that maybe already own a CMM, but they need some vision capabilities on a simple part. So of course now we're offering it not only as a module, but as an integrated part of the iNexiv integration. So not only are we using a camera and a ring light, but backlighting, top lighting, rotary indexers, laser autofocus devices that are all available in the iNexiv hardware. So the last thing in the list of these 4 items, flexibility, ease of use, power. Finally, we can talk about cost. So the initial cost of the software is less. There's less training involved. We've talked about this flexibility of using the same piece of software on a manual CMM, a DCC CMM, an articulated ARM, an iNexiv. So you can train your users in a single piece of software, and now they know how to go and operate maybe instead of one device, a half dozen different devices within your facility. We try to keep options and pricing simple. We offer a light and a CAD version of the software. So the light version does not allow CAD import. The CAD version does allow CAD import and any CAD functionality that goes along with that. So you're not being forced to buy one CAD module and then another CAD module for advanced functionality. Annual cost, lower annual maintenance fees compared to competition, always less than $1,000 a year. Of course, traditional support mechanisms are included with these maintenance fees, but then outside of the traditional support, you've got an online community or a forum that's available 24 hours a day with thousands of users that have answered questions and people from Nikon, of course, that moderate this and answer questions themselves. So the next thing that we'll talk about briefly, what's new in version 3.5. So earlier this year, we released CMM Manager version 3.5. And in this version, of course, one of the bigger things that we've introduced is the Nikon iNexiv DMA support. We've also added, briefly, Diva USB camera support. So this is another option for a retrofit camera that we talked about previously. We've added all sorts of options for editing reports, report outputs, including PDF, QC Calc output directly. We've added something unique for automatic CMMs, furniture avoidance. So we can load a CAD model of something like a probe rack or a calibration sphere or some sort of fixture that's located permanently in the volume of the CMM. And these CAD elements participate in path planning in the same fashion that the CAD elements of your part participate in path planning. So automatically when we're creating a path, not only are we avoiding collisions with the part, but all of these auxiliary items that may be in the machine volume. Going through the list here, ability to edit operation plans, new alignments for the gear module, and then finally the spatial interop updated version. So these are our native CAD importers. So things like CATIA, ProE, SolidWorks, basically allowing you to import the latest versions of those types of CAD models into CMM Manager. So an overview of the iNexiv CMM Manager integration in terms of functionality. Well, as we discussed, this is a multi-sensor system. It's available in 3 sizes. So the smallest is a 2520, so that's 250 millimeters by 200 millimeters by 200 millimeters volume. The largest of the 3 systems is a 6555, so that's 650 by 550 by 200 millimeters. Any of these systems come with a 2D camera and all of the lighting options. Optionally, we can add a touch probe, so that could be a traditional straight-down touch probe, a star probe, any type of stylus configuration that you could imagine. Optionally, you can add a laser autofocus device. And then finally, you could add a rotary indexer. So this is going to allow you to index your part. So in lieu of having an articulating probe head, what we do instead on a machine like this is we actually rotate the part and present the part to the probe that you're interested in using. So software capabilities available today with this previous release of CMM Manager 3.5. Of course, 2D and 3D CAD import, 3D measurement with touch probe, 3D measurement fully incorporated with rotary index, 2D, 3D CAD comparison, of course, calibration for touch probe, vision probe, laser autofocus probe, so that you can make measurements with all of these different devices and correlate. Vision and laser autofocus. So autofocus on the surface or the edge using the camera, and then of course autofocus on the top surface of a part using this laser autofocus device. Vision measurement. So all sorts of vision measurements, circles, lines, curves, clouds, anything that the camera can see, we can collect data points and create either features or point clouds. So the software development is split up into two phases. So the second phase we're starting work on now, and we're looking at release in the first quarter of 2016. So phase 2, we're looking to increase the vision capabilities that are unique to iNexiv. So as we said before, CMM Manager already had a vision module and already has lots of experience working with the camera and with top lighting. But now on an iNexiv system, we've got some unique things that we can do with rotary indexers and different types of lighting and CAD comparisons and all sorts of very vision-specific functions that we're looking to add. Pattern recognition for dealing with parts that are in arbitrary locations on the system. Moving on, we can do an introduction, I think, and the slide pops up. Well, for some reason that slide, I'm sorry, wasn't displaying, but in any case, we're going to talk more specifically about the iNexiv hardware. So as I mentioned before, it comes in three sizes, 2520, 4540, 6555. Available options include a laser autofocus device. So this laser autofocus device is in line with the camera and allows you to do Z-depth measurements on surfaces. Tactile probe. So of course, the tactile probe could be any stylus configuration. Traditionally, we'll use a star probe so that we can access features on the sides of the part that we wouldn't be able to access with the vision probing. Of course, the vision probe or the camera, the 10-to-1 zoom, so it allows a large field of view all the way up to a very tight field of view, 10 times the magnification. Autofocus, edge detection, point filtering, 3 different types of illumination. And then finally, a rotary indexer option, so we can mount in several different locations on the system a rotary indexer that allows you to rotate a part into different orientations for better accessibility. The next thing that we'll talk about is a CMM Manager Vision User Interface Overview. So we'll see here a screenshot of the CMM Manager software actually in action performing what looks to be a laser autofocus measurement. So if we look at the top of the application, we see this ribbon bar layout. So all of your commands, whether it's alignments or features or vision measurements or reporting, are all exposed in this ribbon bar application. Below that, we see, of course, the live camera feed, all of your edge detection, all of your lighting adjustments, and so on, you're going to see occurring in this live video feed. Immediately to the right, a CAD view or graphics view. So this is going to show things like probing and machine volume that might be turned on and off, but more importantly, the CAD model of the part that you're working with, and then a graphical representation of all of the features and points that you've measured. So as you're interacting with the CAD model and as you're interacting with this program that you're creating, you see immediately the results of alignments and reporting and anything that could be displayed graphically. You're going to have some assistance in this CAD view. Of course, all of the operations that we're adding to a program are displayed through some sort of dialog box. So the dialog box we see here is a very simple dialog for a manually measured point. Of course, the dialog box is going to have more options if you're looking at measured features that are done automatically. So numbers of points, depth of points, these types of things for tactile probing. On a vision probing, you're going to have all of your options related to the vision tools exposed in these dialogues. And then ultimately, after the operation is added, in the program on the right-hand side, you'll see a representation chronologically of all of the operations within your program. So you can rearrange these operations just by dragging and dropping. Of course, you can double-click on an operation to open that back up and make some editing or changes. And then finally, on the bottom left-hand corner, you see just the top portion of a report. You can create multiple reports. Again, they could have text, they could have graphics, they could have unique information that you've prompted for, like serial numbers and so on. So we have a brief demo video that we can show, 2.5-minute long video. I'll go ahead and play this, and I'll try to narrate as the video is playing. So, CMM Manager on iNexiv. Here's a view of the hardware. Well, this is probably a 4540, and this machine is equipped with a touch probe, a laser autofocus device, and in this case, a probe rack so that you can change from one stylus configuration to the other automatically. So what we're seeing here is a program that was previously created entirely from CAD. So just by picking on the CAD model, we're able to create measured features with the video probe, with the tactile probe. In this case, we're doing a measurement using the laser autofocus on the top side of the part. And now we're looking at the edge of the part with the camera instead, and we're doing some autofocuses on the edge and then some measurements on that same edge. Now finally, we're into the measurement portion of the program. So we're measuring some circles. You can see some different types of lighting options. And at some point after we perform several vision measurements, we'll transition into a tactile probe measurement. So we can seamlessly, with this path planning engine and CMM Manager, transition from a vision measurement to a laser autofocus measurement to a tactile probe measurement. And of course, when we're picking features on the side of the part, automatically the software can create a path that moves the probe from one location to another and safely access all of these different types of features that we might be interested in. So immediately after measuring this feature on the back, we'll move to the front of the part, and you'll see, again, a path that was created automatically where we move to the circle or this hole on the front side of the part. So programming something like this in the traditional fashion, using the joystick or entering in some values would be pretty tedious. The ability to pick from a CAD model and let the software do all of that work for you is tremendous. And then, of course, finally, after the program is done running, you saw briefly a report, which was a combination of some graphics and, of course, traditional text reporting. So the last couple things that I can talk about, there is a website that you'll be interested in, CMMManager.com. So on the website, of course, you can get all kinds of information about the software and some of the options and some of the devices that we interface to. But you can also, from the main page, find some links to our weekly web demo. So once a week, we're doing a web demo for a traditional CMM. Once a month, we plan to start doing an iNexiv specific, so vision tactile probe combination demonstration. You can also request a 30-day trial for the software. So if you happen to have a portable arm or some sort of CMM that's a plug-and-play device for CMM Manager, you can request a 30-day trial and try the software out. And of course, we can help you install and configure and so on. So with that said, thank you guys for your time today. Here's a reminder for the website, CMMManager.com. Of course, forum.cmmmanager.com. So you've got some offline 24-hour-a-day support and a community where you can go and discuss the software. So I'll hand it back over to Bill, and we'll probably talk about some questions and answers and any questions, comments that you guys have we'd like to hear.
Thanks, Nate. Hi, this is Bill Koenig again. That was a very informative session from Nate. We have received a question or two, and it'd be nice to get to them. So just do want to remind you that if we run out of time before addressing every question, those unanswered questions will be forwarded to Nate and Nikon, and a response will be forthcoming. Nate, we'll start with this question. When measuring a circle on a CAD model, can CMM Manager create a circle 0.5 inch down in a 1 inch hole?
Yes. So with the tactile probe and with the vision probe both, the depth of the feature is accounted for when you're picking the feature from CAD. So the part that you saw inspecting during this demo video that we showed, some of those holes had countersinks, some of them had counter bores. So when you pick the feature from the CAD model, when you pick at a depth that's below the top surface, again, whether it's a tactile probe or a vision probe, we automatically account for that and set the measurement depth accordingly.
Okay. Another question. What is the difference between iNexiv software and PAS CMM for a traditional CMM?
Well, the PAS software, I'm assuming, is referring to a competitive product, so it's an offline programming tool. So if I'm answering the question in regards to what I suspect you're talking about, CMM Manager is unique that it has a direct interface to all of these different CMMs, controls the CMM directly, you program directly in this package. Where PAS is simply an offline programming tool where you load a CAD model and create DMIS code. And then you take that DMIS code and you put it into different software packages and then typically massage that DMIS code a bit to make it work on that particular system. So the big difference is CMM Manager has a direct interface to this equipment and can be used immediately on an ARM or a CMM or whatever the target system is.
Okay. Another question, can a 45-degree mirror be used to measure the XZ and YZ working planes using the vision system?
Yes, this is possible. Of course, there's some calibration associated with this. We do have some special mirrors that are available from some specialty vendors, optically true mirrors. But yes, that absolutely is possible.
Okay. Another question just came in. What is the precision with tactile, laser, and vision inspections?
Yep. So the overall accuracy of these machines is given as an MPE, so maximum permissible error. And worst case scenario, so actually the smallest machine is the least accurate of the bunch. Worst case scenario, you're looking at 3 plus 8L over 1,000. So on a machine that size, that's about 5 microns error through the entire volume, through the entire X and Y volume. The Z-axis is a little different. It's actually 3 plus L over 50, so considerably less. The bigger machines are 1 or 2 microns less than that. And then, of course, correlation between all of these different probing systems typically would be around submicrons, a micron.
Okay. Another question. What CAD format or formats can be imported into this software?
Yes. So the standard version of the software allows importing IGES, STEP, DXF, SAB, and ASCII if you're importing point cloud data. Of course, I did mention there's some optional native CAD imports where you can import Pro-E, CATIA, SolidWorks, the whole array of traditional native file formats. So these native file formats are available at some additional charge, but the standard version does allow traditionally IGES and STEP are the 3D formats people use. Of course, DXF is included as well.
All right. Can I hold parts in a fixture?
Yes. So when we create a program, more times than not, we'll include some sort of manual alignment at the beginning of the program. On a CMM, that might be placing the probe adjacent to the part. physically measuring the part using the joystick. Of course, there's options to program a part. You know it's going to be in some fixed location each time. You can create your program accordingly, or you could even prompt the operator, do you want to do a manual alignment? And based on their response, it will simply run in the same location that the part was run previously. And then, of course, there's options if you've got not only a part in a fixture, but multiple parts in an array type fixture where you've got rows and columns of parts. You can run just a single program and tell the software, okay, I want to run 9 parts, so 3 rows of 3 parts, or 3 rows and 3 columns with a total of 9 parts, and it will run each one of those parts in sequence.
Okay. What report output is available? Microsoft Excel, for example?
Yes. So the report outputs that are available standard include PDF, Microsoft Excel, several text formats, HTML, several formats that are suitable for going into third-party systems like SPC. There's actually a direct QC Calc output. And then finally, there's a very flexible output called DDE, or Dynamic Data Export, which allows you to populate directly an existing Excel document. So if you've got an Excel document from your customer or from some industry standard that you want to populate directly, that can be done from CMM Manager, preventing you from having to transpose or manually copy and paste data, which you might do otherwise.
And our last question, what is the accuracy of the machine?
Yep. So again, the overall accuracy of the machine, depending on the size, is somewhere between 2 plus 8L over 1,000 up to 3 plus 6L over 1,000. So an overall estimation, you could say, maybe right around 4, 5, 6 microns to the volume of the machine.
Thanks, Nate. Unfortunately, our time is almost up. As promised, all unanswered questions will be passed along to Nikon, and you can expect a reply via email. Also, this entire webinar will be available for replay by 4 p.m. Eastern Time, and you can access it by using the same sign-in link you used earlier. Beyond our webinar series, SME and Advanced Manufacturing Media have a host of ways to keep in touch with the latest developments in manufacturing. For example, our September 2015 issue of Manufacturing Engineering included a feature article on measurement and inspection. Our February 2016 issue, coming up soon, will have a feature article on metrology for medical. SME's membership community features member discussions, certification, event information, and more. You can visit connect.sme.org for further information. And finally, Advanced Manufacturing Media delivers the latest measurement, metrology, and quality news at www.advancedmanufacturing.org. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you found the presentation informative.